to spend about the next hour or so with us. We do have some more folks joining us through the waiting room, so we'll just give them one more minute before we get started. Thanks for being here. Okay, I think we've got most everyone who's out there. We'll have a few more join us shortly, I think. Thanks again, everyone, for being with us. My name's Scott Lorenzi. I'm the Director of Upper School Admission. So tonight you're going to have an opportunity to hear more about Winchester's Upper School from some of our key players. So we've asked Dr. Ann Fay, our Upper School Director, to start by giving us an overview of the Upper School. And then we have a group of teachers and administrators from the upper school who are going to briefly share a little bit of information about their department. At that point, we'll turn it over to all the parents. And if there are questions that you'd like to address to any of the teachers, you'll be invited to either pop those in the chat or just unmute yourself and ask the question. So for about 15 or 20 minutes, we'll give you an opportunity to engage directly with the teachers, ask any questions that are on that are on your mind. For the last 10 or 15 minutes or so of the event, we've invited a group of our student ambassadors, upper school students who have volunteered to take questions that you have. So if you're wondering about certain things from a student's perspective, you'll have a chance to also ask that. From a group of students, some of which came in new at 9th grade, some are lifers at WT, students who represent all sorts of different academic interests, sports, arts, a wide variety of perspectives, I think. So thanks so much for joining us. I'm going to start by introducing Dr. Ann Fay, our Upper School Director. Dr. Fay, take it away.
Thanks, Scott. Good evening, everybody. It's a pleasure to have you all here and tell you a little bit about our upper school program. I'm going to keep it short because the people you really want to hear from are our incredibly innovative and creative teachers. They're the ones who really make WT the experience to be envied across the city, as far as I'm concerned. So what is it like in the upper school? Well, Winchester Thurston is a progressive pre-college preparatory program. We're always innovating, I would say. These teachers are always looking for new ways to engage students in academics, in the arts, in athletics, in theater, you name it, they kind of do it, and they do it exceedingly well. One of the things that we have done just recently is we have made the decision to eliminate AP advanced placement courses from our curriculum. And there's a couple of reasons that we have decided to do this. The biggest one, I feel, is because it allows us to really take advantage of the expertise of our teachers and let them design the courses that they think are going to truly challenge and prepare our students for life out of high school, as well as fully engage them and immerse them in the learning while they're there. They already have a slew of courses ready to go that we have passed by college admission officers or college counselors, and they're recognized as being rigorous. WT does have a reputation out there for rigor, and they are already looking at the courses we currently provide, and they see that these are challenging courses, and our students go out there to college well prepared and with unique kinds of experiences that see them well through college and life later on. So our curriculum is a core curriculum of academics that you're probably all aware of. We also have a full computer science program that many schools do not have. And we also emphasize the visual and performing arts. And that's an important part of our curriculum. And I would say a lot of our students engage in orchestra and jazz and theater, as well as doing athletics. So we are a school that encourages students to really pursue old passions, develop new passions, and really develop a full rounded experience so they can really see what is out there for them and what passions they might want to pursue further down the road. This also kind of ties in with the new Davis Center that is being built for interdisciplinary learning. And some of the teachers might talk to you a little bit about some of the ideas that they have started to generate about courses that are really, I think, just so unique and exciting that students coming into the school at this point, I think, are going to get such a unique experience of high school. So with that said, I really want to turn it over to them because they're the ones that are really going to ignite you and your kids when they come to Winchester Thurston, which we hope you really do consider. So to start off, I would ask Dave Nassar, who is our department chair for computer science, to tell you a little bit about his program.
Thanks so much, Dr. Fay, and thank you all for joining us this evening. I'll try to keep it brief. I'm very excited about computer science, so that'll be difficult for me. I hope you guys are having a good evening. I'm going to share my screen really quick. No, I'm not, because I guess I'm not able to do that. So, all right, am I able to do that, Scott, real quick? No need to. I'll just move on without it. We basically, I'm just going to talk about our courses that we have. I was going to show you a little map of them all. We have a number of courses, but we focus a lot on interdisciplinary work. So the important thing about computer science is to recognize that it's about problem solving. It's not about sitting in a dark room behind the glow of a computer screen like many of you are doing right now. Instead, it's about learning how to problem solve and do something fun with it. So we introduce students to that concept of computer science through 3 intro courses that are interdisciplinary and 1 trimester long. That's CS for Art and Music, CS for the Humanities, and CS for Math and Science. We also offer a year-long course called Interactive Storytelling and Game Design, which not only is taught by one of our computer science faculty members in the upper school, but also a visual arts teacher and our music teacher. They combine all 3 of those in 1 classroom to help students not only work on the artwork for the stories that they're telling through computer science and the game work, but also develop like soundtracks and record them in like a studio type environment. So it's really exciting to see those sort of disciplines play together. We offer a full curriculum all the way up to a class called Algorithm Design, which is a really high level computer science course that would mirror what it look like at a college level. But I want to talk about, again, the interdisciplinary work we do with some of our courses that are not at that highest level. And that's a course called Entrepreneurship and Product Design, where we have students sort of create products that they could sell. And in order to do that, I team up with other people in the community, but also our fellow teachers. So you'll hear later from Matt Bachner, our English department chair, and he comes into that class and helps the students understand rhetoric and how to sell a product and build a correct sales pitch. I had the luxury of also teaching with another one of our department chairs, Michael Narragon, who you'll get to hear from later today, in a class called Machine Learning and the Social Implications of AI. We co-teach that course. It's a course where we learn about not only the programming of machine learning and how to create those types of algorithms, but also to think about the ethics involved with that type of thing. So we want our computer science students to not only have an immense set of skills that they can use to do a lot of things, but also to think about how to ethically use them. I thank you for listening to me. If you have any questions, I will entertain them when the time comes. So good luck listening to the rest of my colleagues.
Next up, we have Steve Miller. He's the chair of our math department.
Hi, everyone. Hope you're having a good night. My name is Steve Miller. This is my 14th year at Winchester Thurston, and I started teaching in the Washington, D.C. area back in 1994. My background is in statistics and math and science. One question that often comes up when I meet families who are thinking of coming to WT for 9th grade is what math class will my student take? And not all 9th graders take the same math class. We base math placement on recommendation from the 8th grade teacher, what they took in 8th grade. If we need to administer a placement test, we can do that as well. Look at teacher recommendations. So there are a lot of factors that go into determining where a new student to WT in the upper school would go. As far as our course offerings, we offer a path, the somewhat more traditional path to calculus and advanced topics courses, such as differential equations, discrete math, multivariable calculus. And we also offer applied math courses and a number of statistics options as well. One of the courses that I'm kind of excited about that I've been working with one of our science teachers on developing is an interdisciplinary epidemiology course. It's still in the early phases of development at this point, but it's something that we've talked a bit about for the last couple of years, and now, we're really, have an opportunity to start developing it and thinking about it. As we phase out the AP math courses, one of the options that I've been developing is a data science class that incorporates statistics and computer programming. The department's philosophy, we really want to give every student the opportunity to really to realize their full potential, as a mathematical thinker, and not just someone who can crunch numbers, someone who can do calculations. We hope to foster a love of learning and an appreciation of the subject, through experiences in the classroom and outside the classroom that encourage students to explore ideas, to take risks, and to really think for themselves. And we believe that establishing fundamental skills and laying a solid foundation at every level, give the students an opportunity to further their studies in mathematics and in related fields, apply the mathematics in other disciplines. And when we do establish skills, the emphasis is not just on memorization, but we want the students to develop and work through logical processes that they can really understand and kind of put the big picture together, put the concepts together. As Dave Nassar said, I'll be available to answer any questions that you might have when the time comes. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve. Next up is Leah Eckberg, and she's the chair of our World Languages Department.
Good evening, everyone. It's so nice to have a chance to talk with you tonight. I'd like to tell you a little bit about the World Languages and Cultures Department. We offer the choice of 4 different languages: Chinese, which I teach, French, Latin, and Spanish. And we're a department of 5 faculty members who get very excited about getting students communicating in another language. Students may choose to continue to study any of the languages that we offer, in which case we will work with them to determine the appropriate placement, or they may choose to start a new language and a new adventure. And with offerings that span ancient to modern, east to west, we really encourage everyone to explore all of the options and to make a thoughtful choice. Our graduation requirement is completion of level 3 and at least 2 years of study. Our level 3, 1 to 3 classes are focused on getting students to develop what I would call like conversational proficiency around topics related to daily life. And as they do that, they're exploring daily life in the various regions where the language that they are learning is or was spoken. And then beyond that, we offer an array of upper level classes in which we use the language to take a deep dive into topics like history, culture, literature, film, art, politics. You get the idea. I'd like to highlight 2 things that all of our programs share in common. First, our programs are very broadly focused on communication and cultural competence, not narrowly focused on vocabulary and grammar. So some examples of this include Chinese students who at all levels who are writing to their pen pals in Taiwan. They're writing in Chinese and English. Using the website Padlet, so they're able to share photos, videos, songs with their pen pals and receive those in return. Or students in the Francophone world, our level 4 French class will be talking with the Congolese film director and activist Onel Arneth in the coming weeks. So our goal here is really, we're not about like vocabulary lists and verb conjugation charts. We really want to help the students use the language to express themselves, and then also to connect with, to understand, and to learn from others. And then the second feature of our program that I really want to highlight is that our programs all prioritize student voice and choice. And although we've done this all along with the move away from APs, this allows us even more flexibility to help students pursue interests that really excite and motivate them. So 2 examples of this in reading Latin literature, which is our level 4 Latin class. Dr. Seward works with the students every year at the end of Latin 3 to choose what they will be studying. And so this year, students have requested a whole trimester devoted to music. So they'll be studying the lyrics of Mozart's Requiem, Carmina Burana, alongside other works. And Dr. Seward is very excited. He's never done something interdisciplinary with music before. And then just one more example, students in our advanced seminar in contemporary Hispanic cultures each choose a Spanish-speaking country and a social justice issue that they research throughout the year, culminating at the end of the year in a TED-style talk about that topic, which they present publicly. So those are just some examples of some of the great things going on in our department, and I will be happy to answer any questions later in the evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Leah. And next up is Mary Martin, who is from our Visual Arts Department.
Good evening, everyone. Wanted to give you a little bit of an overview about the Visual Arts Department at Winchester. There are 3 instructors within the department in the upper school, and we all pretty much specialize in different areas. And, you know, one of the fortunate things about being at Winchester is that we're all given the opportunity to focus on the things that we're really passionate about. And that, I guess, lends itself to a long laundry list of things. I went through our various courses, and there are about 20 course offerings that we have within the Visual Arts Department. So it's loaded with lots of interesting things for our young people. We also focus on communication and using the visual arts as a vehicle to express different ideas, encouraging students to do problem solving, creative thinking, as well as critical thinking in this whole experience of hands-on learning. Our classroom sizes are primarily pretty intimate. I'd say the largest size is maybe 18 to 20 students. So there's a lot of one-on-one attention for each student. There's a lot of independent learning as well as opportunities for collaboration. We have also opportunities for students to exhibit their work. Of course, we have displays throughout the school, and throughout the school year, there are opportunities for our young people to exhibit and compete on a national as well as a local level to have their artwork shared with the larger communities. Within each of the classes that we offer, we encourage our students to document their work. And right now, from within all of the courses, students are required to create a digital image portfolio that's often used for college application process, as well as submitting their work. But it is a wonderful way to archive everything that they're making. We also collaborate with a lot of the local artists and arts institutions throughout the city. And with a lot of the technology lately, we've been able to Zoom around the country to connect with other artists that are working and doing things similar to what we do, but also exposing our young people to new innovative ways and experiences. There's a very long laundry list of things that we offer from the gamut of African art to ceramics, filmmaking, metalsmithing, painting, urban art, and much, much more. Really excited about the work that our young people are doing. And we're always looking for new ways to enhance what we do. Oftentimes there's an emphasis on community service with our young people as ways to kind of offer back to the community. We offer a pretty nice offering of clubs outside of the classroom structured time for our young people, as well as interdisciplinary work that was mentioned earlier. So there's lots of innovation that's on the horizon. Again, if there are any questions, please reach out. I'd love to answer any questions about the Visual Arts Department as best I can. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Next up, we have Greg Marks, who's the chair of our science department.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us tonight. When it comes to science, we offer a variety of courses that have more of a traditional feel and a variety of courses that have more of that kind of progressive project-based feel as well. And we've been doing this for a while. So, you know, when you hear that we're getting rid of the AP curriculum, I would say that science has been hopefully leading that charge for a while. The courses that we offer, introductory physics to 9th grade, chemistry to 10th grade. And then once you have those two foundational courses, we start to open up freedom of choice for students. So they have a variety of biology classes that they can pick from. And then often in the sciences, when students reach their junior year, they start to, the ones who think they are kind of STEM oriented or have that natural tendency to lean towards those classes, maybe that's something they want to do in college, they'll take more than one science class a year. And it's there where you kind of see some of these kids develop their own unique pathway through our courses. So we offer some really unique courses like experimental psychology. We offer a course on biotechnology where they're going to get exposed to lab skills and technology that they might not see until they're in grad school. And then we offer, after you've taken physics, an astronomy class. It's one of my favorites this year. I don't teach it, but Mrs. Hasselrig, who used to work at NASA, who teaches the astronomy class, has access to a remote telescope. And these students have been photographing different areas of space, and the pictures are just gorgeous, and they're hanging up in the windows all around the physics room. We also offer some engineering courses that kind of like live with science, even though they might kind of be that interdisciplinary idea that you've kind of heard other teachers talk about, where we do product development, not on the computer side, like Mr. Nassar talked about, more on the like the physical product side, using technology like 3D printing and laser cutting and vacuum forming. So that kind of prototype side of it. One of the unique things that we haven't mentioned yet is a lot of times this stuff starts to overlap. So somebody from Mr. Nassar's class will come to me and say, hey, I want to print this for this project, for this math class. Or they might design something for an English project that's part of their presentation and want to incorporate it. Or you'll hear from Dr. Narragon soon, and they might design things that then get created physically and then incorporated into a city planning presentation. So it's really interesting to see as these kids develop that foundational knowledge, all of the crossover that just naturally occurs. Yeah, we have kids that move through our science curriculum with a lot of really good experiences because of the teachers that we have. So you're all staring and listening to me, and you know, I am great, I will admit that, but the rest of the department is so much better. They have experiences at the college level teaching, at the college level doing research in industry and areas like NASA. And we have some younger teachers as well that have come up through grad school with like the most cutting edge education that they can have. So it's such a unique group of teachers. And if you can't tell from everybody who is presented, if that passion doesn't come through when you hear from us, we must all be on mute then, right? Because that's what your students get every day. We teach every class, just like you're listening to us now. Actually, we're probably a little bit over the top. We're trying to tone it down because it's 7:30. But yeah, there's courses for everyone. So whether you are into that kind of physical science with physics or chemistry, or more of a life science or a neuroscience, we have those courses for you. And as we phase those APs out, we're just going to be that much more motivated to introduce even more creative, innovative courses. So when these students go to college, they are going to be at an advantage compared to others.
Thank you, Greg. That was terrific. Next up, we have Dr. Michael Narragon, who is the chair of History and Social Sciences.
Good evening, everybody. I'd like to join my colleagues in welcoming you. Greg is a tough act to follow, so thanks a lot, Dr. Fay. So the History and Social Studies Department follows a very similar model to the one that Greg just laid out for the science program, in that we start with 2 years of really foundational work. 9th grade will be a contemporary world history class. 10th grade will be a topics in European history class. And then students are required to take a third year of history to graduate. One of those years by state law must be American history. But that's where they get the buffet style of options that Greg was really talking about for science, and you've heard my other colleagues allude to. So that students can choose from taking courses such as genocide, global perspectives on crimes against humanity, American constitutional law, American foreign policy, modern Middle East history, power and protest, social movements in America since 1945, macroeconomics, urban research and design. And as we start to move forward in the interdisciplinary fashion that you've also heard described by my colleagues, we envision courses, well, building on the one that I do with Mr. Nassar, which is the machine learning course he mentioned. We see a sort of problem-based learning civics course we're tentatively calling equity, inclusion, and action. A public history course, which is public history has to do with museums and monuments and how we express our collective memories. And then partnering with Matt Bachner, I envision doing a course simply centered around the concept of memory, looking at memory from all sorts of different angles, not just through the historical lens, but also through the English lens, the art lens, and computer science and music, truly bringing the subject at the center and having it intersect with the other disciplines that we offer. And all these courses, when added together, really service a set of skills that we hope that the students will acquire by the time they leave our care. And that is they come to think of themselves as good, active global citizens who are capable of making a difference and whose voices matter. They possess a set of research skills that they can bring to bear. They have a foundational knowledge about the American system and then the global systems and how these systems work and interact. But most importantly, they developed a set of critical thinking skills. They know how to interpret a variety of source materials. They know how to speak clearly. They know how to ask important questions, which in my mind is perhaps the most important skill we can teach. They know how to craft original arguments and marshal the evidence necessary to sustain those arguments. And then they can express that understanding both orally and then again in print. And our hope is that by the time they leave our care, that they're capable of going toe to toe with anybody else around the country. We really think we have a great program here and are very proud of it. And like everybody else, I'll be more than happy to entertain your questions. There are new things in history, so we're very excited to talk about that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Narragon. And finally, we have Matt Bachner, who is the chair of our English department.
And it's finally for a good reason, because last year I spoke for 11 minutes and derailed the entire program. So I'm going to keep it brief this year. So welcome, everybody. Here in the English department, we have a very talented and creative group of educators, many of whom are researchers and creative writers themselves, people who understand both the publishing industry and academic writing, but also writing in the field of politics and advertising and beyond. Rather than kind of go through all of our courses, I really want to kind of just centralize the main experiences that students in any class will have. We want to cultivate a community of authentic writers, both inside and outside of the classroom, and we do that in a number of ways. First of all, it is our desire that students see themselves reflected in what we read and study. So we are always reevaluating our text selection to offer broader ranges of voices. We also offer our students opportunities for independent reading in each of our courses so that they can bring their passions into the classroom. But I think sometimes the most powerful way to do this is for students to create their own literary contributions, which they share with one another. And that is a crucial component of each and every class. We build a large amount of student choice within all of our classes. We present models for them to use and how to respond to the world, right? But then they experiment with those to pick the ones that best help them communicate the arguments that they want to convey or the stories that they want to tell. And very much so, even sometimes in kind of the oratorical moments as well. We have a strong desire to balance between analytical writing and creative writing. They will learn literary analysis and how to interpret works, but at the same time, we want them to write their own poetry, their own plays, their own short stories and creative nonfiction. And more so, we want them to share that with the world as well, which I'll speak to a little later. We treat writing as a habit. We want them writing often and every day. We want them to understand it as a process of inquiry to help them genuinely figure out what they want to believe about the world. We very much so treat writing as an iterative process that needs to be revised and needs to be refined so that it can be shared authentically with a larger public audience. We have a number of ways to do that. We have partner organizations where our students will publish their work. We have our own internal student publications, our award-winning literary magazine, Plaid. We have our students compete in local and national arts competitions and send their work off to periodicals, but they have plenty of opportunities for public performance, both inside the school and outside of school, to make their voices heard. We interact through both our City as Our Campus program and other offerings to expose students to national and local writers as well. Just within the past few years alone, they have heard from and had school visits with Madeline Miller, the author of Circe. We Zoomed with Ta-Nehisi Coates last year. We will have Robin Wall Kimmerer, who is the author of Braiding Sweetgrass, come to speak to our students in April of this year. My American Voices students just met with a national author, Megan Mayhew Bergman, who writes environmental literature in The Guardian and the New York Times. So we really want our students to have opportunities to interact very much so with people who are using their writing in powerful ways. In terms of our course offerings, it's a 4-year program for students. Everyone in 9th grade will take a course called Literature of Journeys and Discoveries, right? In the sophomore year, students will take a course called American Voices that seeks to offer up the opportunity to learn from a diverse range of voices that has shaped our history. And then in 11th and 12th grade, as many of my other colleagues mentioned, this opens up the opportunity for students to have a greater range of experiences. They might take a course like Song, Stage, and Screen, Environmental Literature, Literature and Power, which talks about structures of power that exist within the publishing industry, Contemporary Global Lit. And with APs getting pushed to the side, we are finally at a place where we can offer a truly writing-based course where students will have a chance to do a more project style of learning, where they work with local artists to help evaluate their work, but they produce their own poetry chapbooks or one-act plays or novellas by the end of the year. So we're really excited about the opportunities that are unfolding there. As all of my colleagues have said, I am happy to answer more questions, but my goal was to get done by 7:35, and I did.
Thank you, Matt. I'm sure that was appreciated by everybody. One of our departments wasn't represented tonight. Barb Holmes from our Performing Arts Department was ill this evening and couldn't join us. I am not going to do justice to the program. She is exuberant. She is talented. She puts on the most amazing productions with our students. So she teaches at Theater Arts. She has a variety of programs, acting in improv, theater production, technical theater. She's also our speech teacher. Speech is one of our core requirements that students take for 1 trimester. And even though they kind of grumble about it initially, after that class, they're just wowed with what she does and what she's able to pull out of them in the way of public speaking and communication and engaging audiences. Barb and the rest of the department are a part of this collaboration, I think, that comes across here tonight. Our faculty, they work together, they collaborate frequently. They talk to each other a lot, they socialize, they laugh, they bounce ideas off each other. They're one of the most collaborative, intellectual and close-knit group that I have ever had the pleasure of working with. And yeah, I worked for years at Carnegie Mellon University and the University of Pittsburgh. So I have been around some, quasi-smart people. So, but this place, the energy that they have, I think the respect for each other's work and them always seeking to find ways to find connections across disciplines and break down those silos of different disciplines is really what makes Winchester Thurston Upper School so exciting. It is a learning community. These teachers work together, they encourage their students to work together, they reach across boundaries into what each others are doing in their classrooms, and they find ways to do new and exciting things and engaging experiences for students. Before we go to questions, I did want to introduce you to a couple of other people that are really central to the upper school. First, we have Amy McTighe, who is our Director of Student Support Services. This is how we really help be an inclusive learning community. So she will work with students who have needs, who need to learn in different ways to maximize their potential. And she works with the families and the students and the teachers to make sure that we're meeting those needs for students. The other person here is Jessica Walton. She is our Director of Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Wellness. We do have a big emphasis now on wellness is important to students, and we talk about wellness across the board. It's a very broad definition of wellness, but Jessica is bringing all kinds of learnings to our students and activities and making us really think about how do we support the whole student. And then we also have here David Weisbord. David is the Director of College Counseling. And so he works with all the teachers, he works with me, he works with the students to really make sure that we all understand what that college counseling process is. He shepherds the students through along with our assistant college counselor, Lauren Gordon, to make it as painless as possible. I think under their guidance, it becomes a process that is exciting as opposed to stressful. A little bit of stress isn't bad, but I think he opens up opportunities to the students, makes them see new places, new passions, and so on, and tries to find good matches for them, places where they're going to just grow and excel. So they are also here in case you have any questions about those different areas and how our programming takes place. So with that, we can open it up for questions. If you want, you can put it in the chat and we'll monitor that.
Yeah, I had a quick question for Leah. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Oh, okay, sorry. I might have missed it because I had to step away for a second. But what sort of background does anyone have to have if coming into the upper school and not having had experience with a particular foreign language that they're interested in? So do they have to have any background at all in French if they want to study French or become part of the Francophone world or Chinese or anything like that?
Right. So thank you for asking. We do offer level 1 of all 4 languages based on enrollment. So if we have sufficient enrollment, we would be able to run, for example, a French 1 course so that a student could take French 1 without having any background, and then continue all the way up to the Francophone world and advanced seminar in French. And in past years, when we haven't had sufficient enrollment, I've provided students with a program of work that they can complete over the summer in order to qualify and test into French 2. And so we currently have 2 students in French 3 who worked their way through French 1 over the summer, and then were able to be very successful in French 2 and now in French 3. So basically, we will work with everyone to help them study the language that they want.
So would French 2 be the level that they would have to achieve in order to be part of a dedicated, class?
If we don't have sufficient enrollment for French 1,
Okay.
Then they would need to qualify for French 2. We run a French 2 every year.
Every year. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
I see a question there in the chat about what, if any, CS courses are part of the standard required coursework. Great question. We do require all students to take computer science, but what is the absolute required coursework? It looks different from student to student. Every student currently has to take 2 trimesters of computer science work. So that could mean either 2 trimester courses or 1 year-long course, or as many of our students choose, could be 4 years worth of computer science. I think I have the ability to share a screen now. I'm going to just quickly share this since I have it up. You can see if that works. There's these options basically: CS for art and music, CS for math and science, CS for the humanities, interactive storytelling and game design. Of these ones with the asterisks, these are the trimester versions of the courses. There's another trimester course called physical computing, which is a level 2. It has a prerequisite, but all the other ones are year-long courses. So if a student takes any year-long course, they would fulfill the requirement, or they could take 2 of these trimester courses, the ones with the asterisks. I'm happy to talk about more of those courses in more detail, but I'm sure you have more questions from my other colleagues. So thanks for the question.
So the Mastery Transcript Consortium, we have been members of that, and I would say that our philosophy is pretty consistent with it. We are very much looking at competencies, and we design our courses around a set of competencies that we're looking for students to acquire. We haven't gone full hog with the mastery transcript. We're kind of watching it as members, but not kind of on the forefront of using it exclusively as a transcript. You know, not all colleges accept it yet. And so right now it would limit our students, I think, a little too much. But I think the philosophy there of these competencies, we are looking to have a global studies certificate and an interdisciplinary certificate. So that's kind of that move to the mastery transcript, where students would have a transcript that would highlight these different areas of focus and competency.
I guess I could answer the second half of the question. How do colleges understand the depth of the coursework and curriculum? We do a lot of advocacy with our college partners. So as you were hearing about a lot of interaction. So as you were hearing about some of the new classes that are coming, or machine learning, we run those by our colleagues on the college admissions side to get their thoughts on them. We do a lot of visiting to colleges. There's a school profile. So there's a lot of in-depth, detailed work that goes into explaining. All the students when they apply to college have detailed letters of recommendation from the teachers, and all of our teachers write superb letters of recommendation, as well as a letter from myself or Mrs. Gordon. So all that goes into it. And really also where the excitement comes, I think, is, just as you heard from all of my colleagues, these courses, their excitement, that is really what you get in the classroom. And we communicate that to the colleges as well. And these classes, their in-depth nature, really come out as interesting to the colleges. And the comment we often get back is, oh, I wish I could have taken that class when I was in high school many times. So that's how we are relaying the depth of the curriculum to the colleges.
So I saw that there's a question that popped up about group communication and how do we teach those skills. Within the English department, the way that generally looks is, students are workshopping their material all the time within our classes, right? When they were working on, maybe it's a creative nonfiction, a short story that they're authoring. We use models like Liz Lerman's critical response to literature, right? Where you offer constructive feedback, you learn how to deliver that, you learn how to bring questions yourself to a group setting that will give you the type of feedback that you need in order to refine your product a bit better. So oftentimes what group communication looks like in our spaces are about how do we contribute to each other's work? How do we give each other constructive feedback? How do we build our writing based on that? And I can turn it over to other colleagues of how that would work in more project-based learning courses.
Yeah. So the end of that question highlights STEM areas. It's different in every class. We give kids, at least specifically to science, and then that kind of engineering design class is more STEM than anything else, looking at all those letters at once. But if you think about like just the normal lab, if it's referred to as what's called like a cookbook lab, they're just kind of following directions. So they'll be working together, communicating, not necessarily collaborating, I'd probably say cooperating, if I'm being honest. But then as we progress, we always give them these kind of inquiry-based opportunities where we might not know what the right answer is, and they definitely don't know what to expect. And they do have to kind of have those kind of moments of like critical feedback with one another. When it comes to some of the big projects where students are designing something from scratch, there's often that collaboration where there's that kind of give and take of ideas. Within a group and then actually between groups as well. So we just did it the other day where kids were presenting ideas for the first time to the whole class, and they were getting feedback like, hey, have you ever thought of this? Sometimes if you're a little bit kind of too focused on your own work, you miss things. That's why we always like talk to each other about ideas. And I hand every letter recommendation I've ever written to Dr. Narragon to tell me how bad it is and how to make it better. But in terms of communication, we also want students to really be able to communicate to the right audience. So if that's a lab report, it should have a certain look, it should have a certain tone, it should read a certain way, right? Classic lab report, some student starts it off with a quote. It's like, no, that might be great in Mr. Bachner's English class for a certain style of writing, not on the lab report. So we really try to highlight some of the similarities when they're there, and then a lot of the differences kind of based on what your goal is and who the audience is. And then last thing I'll mention is for almost all of us, and I would say probably for all of us, there's always some form of a public display of work. And usually that's in the form of some type of presentation. It's rarely by yourself. And that audience is usually live and interactive. So not only do they have to communicate, but then they have to be able to handle like questions on the fly from a variety of audience members. And one of my favorite things is sometimes you'll see a student, it usually happens at the end of the year at our STEM symposium, and they'll be presenting to like a 4th grade relative, a professor from CMU, and then like somebody's grandma who happened to want to see what your presentation was. And you watch these students change how they're talking depending on who it's to, and then be able to immediately answer questions at different levels. It's like, it's awe-inspiring to watch them present. So through the year, what I would say is our approach is give them as many opportunities as possible and let them make mistakes and see how to improve and watch them grow. And that happens starting in 9th grade and it works all the way up through senior year.
Absolutely.
And I'll just hop on that really quickly because I know I saw Dr. Fay was about to talk, and so I apologize, Dr. Fay. I teach a class called Urban Research and Design, in which the entire course is organized around the concept of teaching collaborative skills. And I think the thing that really distinguishes a lot of what we do at Winchester Thurston is we actually put students in the spot of having to make decisions and work through differences and work through disagreements and learn how to reach that resolution and still continue to work towards a project in which they're all working together to meet a common end. And I think the most important answer to your question is we teach them collaborative skills through guided experience, which we intentionally scaffold not only through 9 through 12, but within specific courses themselves. So we start with the goal in mind and we help guide our students to the process so that when they go to make those public presentations, they've had plenty of opportunities.
Thanks, Dr. Narragon. Just really quickly, I was remiss in the sea of boxes and faces. I missed introducing Kevin Miller, who is our Dean of Students. He's really the person in charge of student life. So all of our extracurricular clubs and activities, our student unions. He's the fun guy in the school. He's also supposed to be the disciplinarian, but we rarely have any issues like that for him to deal with. So he gets to work with the students on following their passions. They propose clubs, they organize activities, drive-in movies, and various other events. So if you have any questions about student life, he's definitely the man to ask. I did see a question about the middle school at WT that has started this equity and grading approach. So some people in the upper school are exploring it. It is not kind of as generally widespread as it is in the middle school, but we are and have always been very aware of the various needs of students in the upper school. Students come in with all different kinds of strengths, different areas that they need to work on, different ways of learning and consuming material. And we work very hard in conjunction with Amy McTighe and the student support team to make sure that we are really getting a accurate measure of what students know and what they can do. So we use various assessment techniques from, tests and quizzes and papers, presentations. Kids are building artifacts or costumes. They're working across with City as our campus partners. I mean, we try to find multiple ways to measure their competency because we know different students are going to be able to express themselves and what they know in different ways. So I think we're always kind of looking at that grading for equity, not so much perhaps out of the book that has been read recently, but when I read the book and I look what faculty are doing in the upper school, I can certainly see that there are consistencies across those things. And then Mary, I don't know if you see the question about the 3 teacher specializations in the visual arts. And somebody
Yes.
asking about your metalsmithing class, which is awesome.
Yeah, thank you. So we do have 3 different instructors and we all have, I guess, different backgrounds. Michelle is one of our instructors who has an art history background, and she's been teaching art history for a number of years, and she's phenomenal. She focuses primarily on 2-dimensional art, so the printmaking, the painting. She teaches architecture also, and drawing skills. And then we have Carl Jones, and his, I guess his expertise lies more in some of the digital art. He teaches a digital art class. He does the collaborative storytelling that was mentioned earlier. Carl also does mosaics and glass. He does photography. And then my focus is more on the 3-dimensional, primarily with ceramics is really my expertise. I have architecture background, but I teach mainly the 3D sculpture, African art, East Asian pottery, urban art, things within that realm. And metalsmithing is also one of the courses that I teach, an intro level and an advanced level. We do not do welding, but we collaborate with some local welders. Just actually talking about a summer opportunity for young people. And then blacksmithing, we also have an artist that we collaborate with that. And Cities Art Campus is one of those beautiful opportunities that we have within the school to do things outside of the things that we offer. So we offer it collaboratively, but not like within the framework of the school. Metalsmithing is a much smaller scale, different type of gas that we use and whatnot, but definitely a collaborative thing that happens. Hopefully that answers your question, Brian. Thank you.
And I just saw that Carl Jones is offering a new course next year in woodworking. So if we need more building space, I think Carl and his students can build it for us. Anything else anybody has questions about?
I see the question about the new facility at Center Avenue. It's supposed to be interdisciplinary learning, which we've shared a lot of the different interdisciplinary work that we've done as faculty members. And I think we're looking forward to being able to have a place where we can all get together and explore that work. But I really want to attack that last question before we go. And it's, what do you like best about teaching at WT that you might not have at other schools? And it's the sense of community. If you look around here, we all work together just like instinctively. I mean, it's not even a question if I'm going to be able to get help. For instance, Mary Martin, who just spoke with you, is helping me with one of my entrepreneurship and product design students in computer science who wants to build a smart cutting board rather, to identify the food that you're putting there and then teach you how to cut it correctly. And she has a artist friend that's coming in with the Cities Art Campus program on Tuesday of next week to help that student build a really beautiful wooden cutting board that'll fit all the electronics inside of it. And I just asked Mary if she would help me, without a question. Of course, I'll help you. Matt Bachner's helping me. Greg Marks helping me. I just love the community. And that's what I love about teaching at WT.
I think it's the freedom to dream up new things and then have the support from administrators and colleagues to do them, right? No one's ever come up with an idea and someone was like, "Wow, no, that's a bad idea," or we're honest with people, right? And we get that kind of critical feedback from each other and say, "Hey, well, have you thought about this?" So it's this place where you can come as a teacher with ideas and turn them into these experiences that you cannot get elsewhere. It's one reason I came here. I was attempting to do this at a public school 12 years ago, and I was told I couldn't because it didn't fit the Pennsylvania state curriculum, right? And it was just like, well, let me find a place that doesn't really worry about that because they trust the expertise of their educators. And I found that here. So any idea you come up with, they will give you the space to develop it, and the support to make sure that it's going to be successful.
And to sort of build on that. I mean, since Greg said, I tell him how bad his letters of recommendation are, you know, that tells you about the level of exchange that we have and trust. But I also think there's something about the student population here at Winchester Thurston that feels unique. You know, one of the things that is a hidden theme that has been running throughout tonight is that your students will be taught by people who remain active in their fields, you know, poets, musicians, historians who continue to publish, who continue to install work. If you're in the jazz band, you play under the baton of a composer. I mean, all that really matters because we have this life of the mind going, but we also are given that energy by the students we have in our classroom. You know, I'm not actually making this up, that I've changed the way in which I think and teach about the American Revolution based on the interaction I've had with my students because of the feedback they've had in the classroom. And so there's an excitement to our teaching, and it's generated not only by the colleagues, but it's also generated from the student body itself. And that is also what makes Winchester Thurston really pop to me.
I wanted to say also just a sense of community. I guess a different perspective for me as an alum, right? Someone that graduated when it was an all-girls school back in '88, which is many, many moons ago. But it's been an amazing journey for me, going on like 18 years teaching at the same school that I graduated from, and having the opportunity to watch my 3 children also start off in lower school, in kindergarten, and work their way all the way up through the ranks. I think it says a lot that many of us have children at the same school where we teach, and many of us have graduated as well. I think that speaks volumes.
Okay, since we're going to get personal, I'm going to drop in then and say one more thing, and that my son was a lifer at Winchester Thurston School, and he has been mentored by many of the folks that are on the screen in front of you, and I'm eternally grateful to them. But one in particular, John Mayoni, introduced my son to the jazz world in Pittsburgh. And my son is now a professional jazz musician because of the contacts and the experiences that were started at Winchester Thurston School. And so I know personally the benefits of having a child enrolled here.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, everybody. I too had 2 daughters who graduated, and they still talk about their experience at Winchester Thurston and how well it prepared them, but also just their incredible connection with the teachers that they had at Winchester Thurston. These are lifelong relationships that get developed. And now, as we're talking about students, we're actually going to allow you to meet some of them and talk with them. They really are exceptional. To see them in class, to see their work, to see their engagement in classes is really just a sight to be seen. They are the heart and soul of the school in very many ways. So with that, we're going to turn it over to the students to introduce themselves. I can't see them anymore on the screen, so they're in there somewhere.
Hi, I guess I can go first. Hi guys, I'm Hannah and I'm a senior. And I guess I can also say I came from Falk School, so if there's any Falk parents up here, hello. So I can pass it on to Alex.
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Alex. I'm a junior, and I also came from Falk. I'll pass it on to Jocelyn.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jocelyn. I came in 6th grade, and I'm a junior. I came from a school in Virginia, so I doubt there are any people who went to Fox Elementary in Virginia. I'll pass it on to Nora.
Hi, my name is Nora. I'm a freshman and I came from Falk as well. I'll pass it on to Uma. Yeah.
My name is Uma. I'm a junior and I also came from Falk. There's a lot of Falkies here.
Hi, I'm Tommy. I'm a junior as well, and I am actually a lifer at Winchester Thurston. So I came in kindergarten, and I'll pass it on to Camille.
Hi, I'm Camille. I'm a sophomore, and this is my 2nd year at Winchester, and I came from St. Edmunds.
So we want to invite the parents, if you'd like to ask any questions of our students. Ask away. Again, unmute yourself, or just you can add them to the chat.
What is the absolute #1 thing that you wish you had known when you started ninth grade, upper school at WT?
The one thing, what do you guys think?
Go ahead, Alex.
Sure. So I was going to say, I think being a freshman when, well, the year that COVID kind of broke out, but being at school before the pre-pandemic, I think what I would have told myself is just know that every day you spend at Winchester is going to be a special day because it's going to be different from that point on. Don't let events pass. Don't let different activities pass because you should just go to them. And 9 times out of 10, you will completely come back with something awesome. I was talking to Mr. Bachner, who is my AP Lang teacher, and I was working with him on an essay. And I was saying that it seems kind of funny that every experience I have, even if it's a negative one, somehow ends up in an essay. So it can't be that bad. And I think that pretty much stands for every experience at Winchester and most life experiences in general. Go to the dances, go to the games, go to the club meetings because you really get a great experience from everything. And it's what you take with you when you graduate.
I kind of want to like build off of what, oh, sorry. I kind of want to build off of what Alex said before. So basically just like, don't be afraid to do anything. Like, don't be afraid to join clubs or like start anything new because honestly, the students really appreciate it. And likely there's going to be another kid who has like the same interests as you. So basically, I think I started really joining clubs in like 10th grade. So I wish I was like, oh, I could start earlier in 9th grade and like keep developing and stuff like that. But yeah, and building off of what Alex said for like the student life, I was just talking to Mr. Miller about this earlier today. Like we have such like an integrated community because it's like a smaller school. And so like I really like cherished all the moments where we worked together. We just had like a poetry meeting yesterday and it was a really nice experience, I have to say. Alex was one of the readers. But yeah.
Just to add on to what Alex and Hannah said, I would say if you're going into 9th grade as a freshman, really don't be nervous or hesitant about joining any clubs or sports teams or any classes that you might find interesting, because really the teachers are really passionate and so are the students about so many different subjects, and you'll really discover really what you like, maybe what you don't like so much. And it's really a great opportunity to just experience new things. I mean, I remember last year, actually, during the pandemic, I never really thought I was like a law person or really interested in anything that had to do with law. But then a new club came up that was mock trial. And I said, well, I'll sign up and see how it is. And that's actually one of my favorite clubs right now. It's a really fun experience.
One thing I definitely would recommend to upcoming freshmen is definitely join sports. I think sports teams, especially fall, we have our preseason is centered like late summer. So you do get to know your teammates before school starts. I and Nora, both of us are on the girls, and Jocelyn are on the girls soccer team. And and it's so helpful. You get to know so many people. I made a ton of friends just from the 2 weeks of preseason. And you go into WT like knowing people and having familiar faces in the hallways. You become friends with people from different grades. It's not like just the freshmen. It's really great.
Yeah, and you don't have to have experience with a sport to be on a team. We have a no-cut policy. We have students who start as freshmen in girls soccer who have never played. And by the time they're seniors, you would think they were playing since they were 2. So everybody gets to try out in these sports and find the one that works for them. And so that's always fun to see. So I never knew you guys were called this, but for the Falkers, how was the transition in learning from Falk to Winchester, and what was different and what was similar?
I think I can talk about this for a little bit. So the transition is very smooth from Falk to Winchester. Winchester is a little bit bigger, which I actually found much appreciated. I was looking for a school that was a little bit larger because Falk has a notoriously small class size. But I didn't want a super overwhelming class size, and I think WT does that really well. The environment is super familiar too because of the class sizes. You get to know your teachers really well. Everybody's super friendly. Everybody's there to learn. It's just a very, very welcoming environment. And I think the transition is super easy. Commonly, a lot of people from Falk will go to Winchester, so there's usually a few familiar faces. I think we had like 10 to 12 from my grade came. It was a lot for Falk, but there's always a familiar face, and it's really, WT does really well with welcoming Falk kids.
Honestly, like I'm happy. Like whenever Uma came, I was like, oh, I'm so happy Uma's here. But I think what's really great about having sort of like other students is that we sort of built like a really close connection that we didn't really have in fall because we were separated in like different grades. But because like in Winchester, we have classes where sometimes upperclassmen would take like a higher level of math or whatever, depending on like what interest they're taking in. We really like talk with upperclassmen a lot and communicate. I know Alex has definitely asked me a few questions. But I think another thing, what might be different is that I think Winchester is kind of like an extension of Falk with like different, student council opportunities. Like I done that for the first time in Winchester and just like different clubs that we mentioned before. And you can always just like go further in classes. I know teachers kind of mentioned that before, but if you're passionate about something, like they will definitely give all of your resources and stuff like that. So.
Mhm. What about the St. Edmunds person?
That's me.
What was that transition?
So I'd say the transition from St. Edmunds to Winchester was definitely pretty easy. It flowed pretty well. Socially, there are a decent amount of kids who come from St. Edmunds. Like I think it was 4 people in total from my class, which was really helpful to have like a familiar face around. And my freshman year, I was all virtual, so it was a little bit rough, but like knowing that I have like people who are in the building who can always help me or kind of help me navigate the school, or like what the teachers are like, was really helpful. And academic wise, I think St. Edmunds prepared me very well for Winchester. I think that it's set up in a very similar way in the sense that at St. Edmunds, you can go talk to your teachers outside of class. And it's like that at Winchester too. Like I know this week I've been meeting with my teachers after, and they're always like, yeah, come on. I have time, or, hey, I have a meeting this period, but what about this period? Like they always make time for you no matter what. And they're always there for you for sure. And athletic wise, like a lot of the other student ambassadors said, like, I definitely recommend doing sports coming in. I did cross country, like Alex and I do cross country and track. 10 out of 10. I definitely recommend it. And it kind of gives you kind of a good introduction to Winchester because everybody was so sweet. And the coaches are nice. Like, and I've heard like positive things about girls soccer, boys soccer, tennis and all that stuff. So I definitely recommend it. And yeah, the transition like as a whole was really smooth. I didn't really have any bumps in the road, and I really think it's pretty easy. There was nothing I felt like that was stressful about it.
Anything else? Any other questions? No? Okay. So we are 10 minutes over, and I apologize for that. We really appreciate all of the parents who joined us tonight. Thanks so much for spending a little over an hour with us. Thank you to all the teachers and also the students for giving up your time to be here. We do want to encourage the parents, if you have not had a chance to visit the school yet, we do offer in-person tours of the school, so please feel free to reach out to the admission office, and I'll be following up with everyone tomorrow morning who attended the event with some additional information about that. So we hope if you haven't had a chance to visit, we hope that you'll come see us. Thanks again, everyone. We hope you have a wonderful evening, and we hope to see you back at WT sometime soon. Thanks so much, everyone.